Okay, so this is going to be how we finish up this first assignment. I'm going to finish up with the last choices in my texture field by just erasing away, let's see, some of these hardest edges. Sometimes you combine too many layers, as I did here. So first let me erase this back a little. Let the computer catch up with me. And with this one, instead of just erasing it, I'm actually going to blur the whole thing. If I go to Filter and Blur and Gaussian Blur, I can make it all kind of glow. And then erase it out at different opacities, so I don't have such hard edges to work with. That's a little too strong. Mist gathering along the water is nice, but you want it subtle. Okay, now you know you're done when you feel like you've just turned around a corner and you've happened to see some of these things. And you're in this environment. Feels believable to you. And then we know we've done a good job. It's compelling. So a big difference before any texture fills, after a little bit more, after a lot. Then I might take this opacity down just a little bit. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now what do? I'm going to crop the image, but before I do that, I'm going to make sure I save it. And to crop, I'm going to use the cropping tool, and I'm going to draw the box just inside of my image. Like so. Then hit return. Now you can use the cropping tool to really control your composition. The reason I saved before I cropped it is I just took it down from being almost 2 gigabytes large to being only 830 megabytes with all the layers. I got rid of a lot of pixel information, and that's hard for the computer to process sometimes, and sometimes it can crash when you're cropping a lot of information. Okay, the last step, this is a super optional step. Let's see, one little thing I can work on there. Wrong layer. And I'm going to treat it like it's a finished photo now. And I'm going to process it like it was in a dark room and see if there's other variations I like using something called actions from the photo side of Photoshop as opposed to just the digital art side. So once this is saved, first as a Photoshop assignment, I'm going to go ahead and save it right to the desktop. So Carl Fry, Assignment 1, Fantasy Landscape, PSD. Now it's cropped, but it has all of the information. It has all of the layers still. Now I'm going to say Layer, Flatten Image. It's kind of scary. And this is going to bring it from being almost a gigabyte worth of memory down to only 42 megabytes, because now it's all just on one layer. Now I'm going to save it well, maybe I won't save it yet. Now I'm going to use what are called actions. So I click on this little play button here. I could go up to Window and say Show Actions. And I'm going to go down to where it says Carl's Customized Effects. These are actions I've loaded onto your computer. You can get them in the class Dropbox for your own Photoshop. And I'm going to use my go-to kind of all over processing. It's called full run-up F3 to view. It's actually, on this setup, it's going to be F9 to view. But anyway, press play. And it looks like it's doing all kinds of things. Photoshop goes crazy, but it's actually opening up new files for each kind of color treatment, just like I would treat a set of contact prints or negatives in the darkroom. Okay, now I'm going to say Window, Arrange, Float All in Windows. You have to flatten it first, otherwise you can't do any of this, and Photoshop would just scream at you for making it work so hard. Then I'm going to hit F9, and I can see all the options. Now what I want to do is identify some that I think are promising. So crisp black and white, I don't like at all. I'm going to close that right away. Go back to F9. But max texture high pass, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to minimize that. I might want to use that. This one, it looks like a diorama. It's too extreme. Don't want that. The vintage, no, it looks too vintage. It looks kind of too flat. Don't want that. So it's all based on personal taste. That kind of takes the color out a little bit. Maybe too much. Don't want that. That puts too much color in. But this is a little interesting. Kind of stark. That just looks terrible. And so on and so on. Heightened drama, pretty nice. That's just weird. That's actually not bad. And I'm working back to my original. Now usually I'll only pick 2 or 3. That's too colorful, though kind of pretty. Yeah, maybe I'll even look at that. And it just pushes your image in a bunch of different ways. So that's my original image. These are the 4 or 5 others, let's see them all now, that I liked. So that's my original. Is any one of these just better? And in some ways I think this one's better. In some ways I think this one's better. In some ways that one's a little better. These two don't really strike me as better, so let me get rid of these. Let's do that. And now here's my favorite trick. I'm going to take the ones I think have the most potential. I'm going to flatten them. I'm going to select all, so that's Command A. Command C to copy. And you can also do that through Edit. So copy, select all, edit, copy. And then I go back to my original, which is just one layer now, and I'm going to do Command V to paste. And it will put it right on top, so I now have the layer right on top. Then I can close this, and I go to the next version of processing I like. So this one's already flattened, but if it wasn't, I'd do Layer Flattened. I'm going to select all, Command A, Command C to copy, Command V to paste on top. Close this. And this last one, which is the most subtle, flatten it. It's already flattened. Command A, select all, Command C to copy, and Command V to paste on top. Okay, now I turn them all off. I have my background. I turn the first one on, and I'm going to use opacity and decide how much I like that change. Because all the actions are designed to overdo it a little bit. So maybe I like it to about that, to the tune of 58%. Now the next one, that looks way too strong. So maybe I only want this at like 35%. Is that better or is that worse? It's a little bit better. Okay, next. some mistiness. Do that at, see, that's 0, that's 100. Maybe about right there. Now, do I like that better than this? And each step, you should like it better. And this gives me all the atmosphere, gives me all the color, gives me all the texture. Everything's tied together. I'm walking amongst the bones. I see the ripples in the water. I see that the water up close is kind of greenish because it's on land. I see that the rocks have more texture. Yeah, I'm sold. Okay, so this is going to be my finished project. So what do I do now? Instead of saving it as a PSD, that would be a mistake because then I've lost all my component layers and instead I just have these processing layers. I'm going to save it as a new format. Save as a TIFF, T-I-F-F. And I can even change its name and I'll call this processed. It's what's called post-processing. And then as TIFF options, we always want LZW. It saves space. And we do want to keep our layers. Because TIFFs can save layers and it won't lose any data. It's another great archive format. Okay, now it's all done. Now I'm going to save as a JPEG. And it's ready to upload along with my sketch. I want it to fit between 10 and 12, but I don't want it to be more than 5 megabytes. So at 12, it's 12.7 megabytes. Remember, this is big enough to print, sometimes up to 13 by 19 inches. So if I take it down to 10, it's just under 5 megabytes, which is perfect. Okay, that's just the JPEG. That's just to put online. Now I close it. I'm done. Got them all here. I open up Chrome, I go to PhotoBucket, I log in if I need to, I navigate to the right folder, which is assignment 1. This is exciting because it's our first assignment. Remember, if your stuff is showing up in the bucket, we need to organize it into the right place. So it's going to go right into this folder, assignment 1, Fantasy Landscapes. And it looks like I'll be the first to upload because we're not going to put it into the past student examples. We're putting it right here. I'm actually going to use, well, I think I can use this as well. I'm going to use what I'm used to. I'm going to use the uploader tool here, but I've already navigated to the right folder so that it automatically puts it into the right folder. And then I can just drag the images I want. First my sketch, then my finished JPEG, and I'm going to title them with my name the same way each time. So Carl Fry. But then because I want my sketch to show up before my finished project, I'm going to put a 1 after it. And then for my finished project, I'm going to put Carl Fry 2. And then everything's done. I go to the folder. And I can start keeping an eye on other people putting their assignments in. The reason you title it with your name is so that I can see who did each assignment. And the reason I need your sketch is so I can see what you were planning on how to use your reference and then what actually came out. All right. Then last, we have to organize our files. I go to my documents folder, open up my digital art folder, open up my assignment 1 landscape. I'm going to take my texture fills and put them into my reference. Maybe I want to play with some of these elements again sometime. And I'm going to update by putting up the newer image and replacing the older image into my folder. And by also adding my TIFF and adding my JPEG. Now this is what I like to do. I like to mark my PSD finished assignments with the red color, my finished process TIFF